Hey guys, well thanks for tuning in to our Soulfire Sunday. I'm your host Shawn Evans, and we've got Mr. Paulie O'Byrne with us this evening.
You betcha.
And Scott obviously can't be here, but he's sharing it on his pages. Paulie's sharing it on 115. Yeah. This week our topic is self-talk, the key to healthy self-esteem. So before we get going, what did you think of this week's audio?
I loved it. I thought it was like super informative about like the basic of cognitive behavioral therapy, right? Like trying to change those thoughts, those negative thoughts. And I mean, there's a few things that surprised me. One of the things was that, where was it that I have it written down here that we have like, oh, that's week 2. Here it is. 300 negative thoughts a day.
Yeah.
On
which
average.
is every, so that's every 2.5 minutes.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so people with anxiety and depression, or just negative thinkers in general, the average person thinks 300 negative thoughts a day. So for people that actually are overthinkers and overanalyzers, if that's an average, it's probably double or triple that. So if you have a negative thought every 2.5 minutes and you're an average person, someone with anxiety disorder, depression, anxiety of any kind really, could be thinking a negative thought every minute of their lives. Right.
And what I found from this is that here's a solution that you don't have to.
Right.
Like, how cool is that we've found a solution? I'm a solutions guy, right? So
sure, yeah.
If I'm having 300 negative thoughts a day, and I'm not a perfectionist, so I would maybe want to get that down to 200 a day.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Or 150, cut that in half.
And just work at it,
work at it.
Sure.
I think the biggest thing that I found, especially with this week, was that it's a daily practice, and sometimes our days suck, and we have terrible days, right?
And you just want to indulge in that sometimes. And sometimes you just want to be shitty, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if the Queen of England came up to you and said, be happy, right? Or your hero said, be happy. If you want to have a negative mindset, you're going to have a negative mindset.
You are definitely going to put yourself in that space, right?
Yeah.
So this week, for those of you that are just tuning in and are new or will be watching this is evergreen, so usually it gets up to at least a couple thousand people that watch. So we're following a program for cognitive behavioral therapy, which is attacking anxiety, stress, and depression. And we're on the 3rd week. It's our 4th episode, though. We did an introductory episode. And we are following Lucinda Bassett from the Midwest Center. It's her program. We're just kind of doing it and trying to bring this awareness to the world because anxiety seems to be on the rise big time. So let's talk about self-talk. Self-talk is one of the most important topics for recovery from both anxiety and depression. Unfortunately for a lot of people, this is one of the most difficult concepts to grasp and understand, but in the end, it's really simple. It's just something that you have to work at. It takes practice and patience. It's one of the most difficult concepts. We're thinkers, we think all the time, and we often think very, very negatively. And a lot of people, I know that I myself didn't want to admit I was a negative thinker.
Yeah.
I felt like I kind of was ashamed that I was a negative thinker. I don't want to be a negative thinker. Just like you don't want to admit that you have low self-esteem.
Yeah.
No one wants to admit that too. Everybody wants to come off like they have confidence.
Right. I think for me, I knew I was a negative thinker. And I just didn't think that it was possible to become a positive thinker.
You just thought that's the way you were.
Right. I thought, well, these are the cards that I was dealt, and so I have to be a negative thinker. I was stuck in that pity party, and I'm the only one that kept me in that pity party, really. Because I'm the one that got out of that pity party, but I just didn't think that it was possible to be a positive thinker.
Right.
Because I'd been dealt a shitty hand, and I thought if this is the way it is, then this is the way it is. And I think that's what really kept me sick for so long, was believing my own bullshit. Yeah. That I'm always going to be a negative thinker. And I mean, before this program, I've learned that I can be a positive thinker for sure. But this has definitely helped. And
good. And we're only on week 3, man. Yeah. So this is a really cool week because you kind of start to take a look at what's going on inside, right? And how the mind and the body are connected, and that you can really make yourself feel anything that you want to make yourself feel just by using your thoughts. Yeah, the brain's powerful. It's very powerful. I mean, when you think about the placebo effect, and I mean medicine, like you think about medication, you think about all this stuff, well, they give people sugar pills and in a controlled environment, right? They'll give you a sugar pill. If they're testing a medication, they'll give some people, half the test group, the medication, half of them a placebo. Right. And some of the people still respond extremely well just by believing they're on the medication, right? Right. So that shows how powerful the mind is. Yeah. So if you don't think you're a negative thinker, let's explain what that is. Are you someone that catastrophizes? Do you overanalyze? Do you worry a lot? Do you beat yourself up and feel like nothing is working in your life? And the thing is, this isn't reality.
Right.
This is a big part of the problem, actually. Most of our negative thoughts aren't even true.
That's what I got written here, and like I think that was like finally a piece of like, oh, sweet.
Well, how many times have you like gone over some event in your mind over and over again and you've driven yourself almost bonkers for like a day or two?
Yeah.
This is called anticipatory anxiety, by the way, but you're constantly thinking about the worst case scenario. And I don't know if that's a past, like you're just trying to kind of condition yourself so that you're not disappointed if it is a bad outcome.
Yeah.
But like 99% of the time, half the shit that you're thinking about doesn't even happen.
Doesn't happen, yeah. Or I've been in situations where
unless you create it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I've been in situations where I've overthought the absolute worst.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just kind of put a bad vibe out to the universe, right? Like, I'm a big believer in what you put out, you get back. And so I constantly was putting out bad vibes, thinking the worst is going to happen. And maybe that actual thing that I was thinking didn't happen, but something bad is going to happen, right?
Right.
Like,
because do you think you attracted that
I think I attracted that.
Sure.
I think if we emit positive kind of neurotransmitters, we're going to receive that as well.
Sure.
Which I didn't think I'd ever be saying the word neurotransmitter.
That's a good word.
But it's a good word.
It's a good word, sure. Okay, so it's not reality. It's a big part of the problem. Most of our negative thoughts aren't even true. The positive thoughts and the comforting thoughts, the empowering thoughts, those are the ones that are true.
Yeah.
Self-esteem is extremely important when you're recovering from anxiety and depression. And at the base of all negative self-esteem is negative thinking.
Right.
So isn't that interesting that you've kind of conditioned yourself to have low self-esteem by the negative thoughts that you've given yourself?
Right. Yeah.
You know, I mean, obviously it can come from externally as well. People can call you names and bully you, and that's not going to help your self-esteem. But it's when you start to believe that and you start treating yourself the way that the bullies treat you in your mind, obviously that's negative thinking, and that's going to give you low self-esteem.
I think like what I can identify with that is like when I was homeless, right? And I thought, this is all I deserve. Like I'm okay living in my car because this is all I deserve, and I didn't think I deserved anything else, right? So I was stuck in that negative thinking in my brain saying, this is all I deserve is to live in my car. This is all I deserve is to have no teeth. This is all I deserve to not eat. And I realized that I deserve recovery.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That took a long time to believe that I was actually deserving of some sort of love in a recovery community. And I think once that switch happened, that I knew that I was deserving of it, then the work started.
What was that switch like before we go any further? Was that a gradual switch, or did something so was that from people telling you that you deserved it through recovery, or did you actually start telling yourself you believed it?
I think people started showing me that, right? And they like, because I started speaking so early, like I started speaking 4 days into my recovery.
Right.
And it just kind of taken off from there. So people said, hey, Paulie, like, you have a great story, you have a great message. And I didn't believe that for the longest time, right? So maybe after like 8,000 people telling me, you have a great message, Paulie, I was finally like, okay, like just to shut you up, I believe you. You know what I mean? And then I started to believe it, and I started to get more speaking engagements, and I started to have a little bit of confidence in my message.
Yep.
And now, I mean, I got like 6 speaking engagements booked for the next like 3 weeks.
Amazing.
And that's just from, I think, being positive about the message that I have and not giving up. Like I'm resilient when it comes to that stuff. So when that switch happened, I think the resilience said, okay, let's go, let's roll with this.
Right.
And it just took a long time for me to actually believe it, but that switch it was gradual for sure.
It was gradual.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, so I think the message that I want from you is that this is going to take a little bit of time. You will have to be patient. It doesn't happen overnight. You can't sort of, as much as I love Tony Robbins, and he says you can change your life sort of at the snap of a finger, you're still going to have to implement what he teaches you on a daily basis until you start to develop a good habit. And we'll get into that right now. The interesting thing about negative thinking is that it's a bad habit. Mm-hmm. So that I thought was really cool. And you can relate to this because it's an addictive behavior.
100% it is.
Right?
Yeah.
So you and I are both sober, so we know what it's like to be addicted and crave something. And even the way that we think can be addicting.
Oh, yeah. I think that it's not. I think addiction, like a big misconception, or maybe we're turning the corner here on like addiction, right? It's not just drugs and alcohol.
No,
right? It's eating, it's sex, it's gambling, it's codependency.
Yeah,
right?
everybody can get addicted to something, right?
Get addicted to anything if it releases those,
Right.
Like,
cell phones.
Yeah.
Social media.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, is that our body doesn't know the difference between getting addicted to something bad or getting addicted to something good.
Right.
So if you're going to be addicted to something, you might as well be addicted to the positive things, which is getting rid of the negative thinking bad habit and starting to implement positive thinking. Or positive thinking is kind of a cliche thing to say, and be positive. Much easier said than done. This is more empowerment thinking.
That's what I've written down here.
Yeah,
I love that.
Empowerment
thinking, because you're empowering yourself, and that in turn helps your self-esteem, and that helps your self-confidence. And I think people that have higher self-esteem and higher self-confidence could be more successful. And it doesn't matter where their past came from. If they put this empowerment, or they implement this empowerment thinking into their lives, then their lives can change gradually over time for the better.
Right, 100%. And so we kind of, at this stage, if you're looking in and you're thinking, if you can relate to any of this, and you're saying, geez, maybe I am a negative thinker, we kind of, and don't let this scare you, because I know for us it doesn't scare us, but you need to view yourself almost like an addict for drugs or alcohol.
Yeah.
And just, you have to break that chain. So we need to be determined to break this bad habit daily, hourly, weekly, and we need to use the empowerment thinking to break free from this. So learning to replace negative thoughts with more realistic, truthful thoughts that make us feel good, make us feel less afraid, make us feel more empowered, make us stronger, make us feel prettier, make us feel more confident, make us feel more loved and loving. Those are the kind of thoughts we want to put in our mind. So self-talk is a skill that needs to be learned over time, as we said, with a lot of practice and patience. And this is where you said the average person about 300 negative thoughts a day, and we're usually worse. So an example of a negative thinking, and I felt this.
Oh yeah.
You let me know if you felt this. Getting up in the morning, you say to yourself, I don't feel good. Then you say to yourself, I've got a headache. Then you say, oh, I feel fat today. Oh, I don't want to go to work. It's raining out. That's already 5 negative thoughts.
Right away.
In a span of like a minute.
Yeah.
Right? All of those are different negative thoughts.
Yeah.
So how long do you think that's going to take to get up to 300? Probably not very long.
No time.
Yeah.
No time.
So most people with anxiety and depression talk to themselves in their mind daily, hourly, very, very negatively. It's constant.
Right.
Have you ever had negative constant thinking?
Oh yeah.
Where you just can't get every thought throughout the day has been negative. Do you think you've ever had that?
I think
or close to it?
Even for the example of going through a breakup.
Mm-hmm.
People will say, whether you break up that day or you talk to your friends or your support system the day after, she wasn't the one. Or,
yeah, breakups are tough for negative thoughts.
And you're just I don't care what you say. I feel sad right now, or I feel angry, I feel hurt. And I think the best thing that I can say to that is hurt people, right? And so when you're going through a breakup, let's say, you just kind of have to take maybe a few days, maybe a week, maybe a few weeks to grieve that, right?
Sure.
And I think a relationship is tough. I think relationships are tough.
Relationships are, and we're getting into with relationships, that's also another addiction.
Yeah.
Because there's oxytocin, right, that is released when you get the love drug, when you sort of feel those feelings. And again, when you're in a relationship, we're kind of getting off topic here, but you're not actually in love with that person. You're in love with the way that person makes you feel.
Right.
So you're really addicted to what you can do for yourself. This is kind of a way to do that. But if you are going through a breakup right now, it is tough. And the same thing, you're addicted to that person, so you need to break that habit. It usually takes at least 21 days to form a new habit. I usually just say a month. Keep it 30 days.
Yeah.
So basically, if you just got through a breakup, don't contact that person for 30 days. Let yourself ease off of that the biological drug that's running through your veins.
Because it will be intense.
Absolutely.
There's nothing for example, when I went through a breakup, there's nothing that anyone could say that would make that better.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
You can't. No. And that person is constantly looking for, a lot of people, and I've done this, as a person with anxiety, and I've gone through, and I've tried to talk to my poor friends going through a breakup about like every little scenario.
Right.
You're picking like every little perspective, and it's like, oh my god. I look back, I'm like, oh my god, why do these people like even go out to lunch with me?
Right.
All I talked about was this fucking person, right?
Yeah.
It must have been annoying as shit. But it was the drug, right? And I didn't know how to stop the negative thinking and start working on this, because this is what's going to help you get through a relationship breakup.
And I think like even like, and that's just an example, right? That we have choices when we break up. We can take the stuff as lessons.
Yeah.
Almost. Do you know what I mean?
We can take anything as lessons.
We can take anything as lessons. I think, especially for me, we hold those resentments.
Yeah.
For longer than anything in the lessons almost go by the wayside, right?
Yes.
We don't learn the lessons because we're so hard about having a resentment against this person. And
right.
most of the time, that person could care less if you have a resentment against them.
No, I know.
Like, they really could. They moved on.
Why bother thinking about someone that's not thinking about you?
Right, exactly. You're giving them power.
Yeah.
And they don't even know that they hold that
Again,
power.
though, all these things are easier said than done. Paulie and I have had a lot of practice at self-work here.
Yeah.
So, be patient with yourself. Don't beat yourself up if you don't get this positive empowerment thinking right away.
It is possible. I think that's the best. That's the best message, is that it is possible to be a positive thinker.
Yeah,
and that's like
to empower yourself. To be an empowerment thinker.
Yeah,
sure. And most of the time, I don't know if it sounds like you were like this, but most of the time, people with anxiety and high stress levels walk around beating themselves up. More so than anyone else. Like, they walk around just beating themselves up and punishing themselves regularly.
Yeah.
So by the time that someone's already giving you a negative comment, like, you've already given about 10 to yourself for not being good enough or whatever that may be. And that's got to stop. So an example would be of us just kind of overthinking would be, this is a good one because it's involving the relationship.
Right.
So say you're with someone that you just started dating, or even if you're struggling to survive in a relationship,
right.
you start thinking things like, why did I say that? She's going to think this of me. Or why did I do that? I look like an idiot.
Yeah.
And why couldn't I have done that better?
Right.
Or why couldn't I have been better? I don't make enough money is another one. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not pretty enough. If we weren't negative thinkers, we wouldn't have a problem with anxiety or depression.
We wouldn't have depression.
No.
Right? We wouldn't have anxiety.
So this all comes down to the way that you think.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously there's other types of depression, but mild depression and any kind of anxiety that if you can start to reprogram your mind and start putting the good stuff in and thinking from an empowerment perspective, you should be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've written down here that like negative thoughts lead to negative self-talk, and that equals anxiety and depression.
Yes.
So like if we always, or at least we always try to find like the root of something. So like the root of, I think, mild anxiety or mild depression or that panic kind of stuff goes right back to negative thoughts. And like I've done that like I've self-sabotaged 1,000 times because it's too good to be true, so I'm gonna have a negative thought about it, and I'm gonna sabotage this whole thing, right? Or like in any situation, if I get scared, that's fear-based. I'll have a negative self-talk because I'll have a negative thought. And I mean, I still struggle with, like, I haven't in a long time, and I can't even say a long time, in a while, with, I would get negative thoughts and then I would harm myself, like, because I struggle with self-harm, and I still struggle with it, and that would be, like, I'm proud of myself that I haven't for, like, a few weeks here now, and that's, like, a solid thing for me to not hurt myself. But that's where it all starts, is like my negative thinking, right? And then negative self-talk. Paul, you're an idiot. No one's gonna love you. You're unlovable. You're unattractive. No one wants you. This person's ignoring me. Then it just builds up, and I need to release that somewhere, and I have an unhealthy way of releasing it, and that's self-harm, right?
Really?
And so I've worked other ways to try to release those thoughts. I walk a ton. Like I walked here to not that I'm having a bad day. It's just a beautiful day out, and I walked, like, I don't know how long it is, like 7K from my place to here.
Well, we'll track it when I give you a lift home. We'll see.
Yeah.
But that's okay, man, because you're learning. I didn't realize you were still kind of this is the problem, is that you're letting negative thoughts build up, and you're trying to find a release. And I didn't realize you're still sort of self-harming. But maybe this is the point where you can the turning point where maybe you can stop it and sort of let it subside.
Yeah.
And you don't need to get to that boiling over point.
Right. That's what it is, right? It's like, it's over and over and over and over again. And I get to a point that I don't want to reach out. I don't want to talk to anyone. I just do it, and then I'll like feel guilty,
right?
Because I've promised some people in my life that, hey, if I'm gonna do this, like, I'll call you or I'll text you. But I have gotten to this kind of thing that I'll call them afterwards, right? So they can't stop me,
right?
Like, because
so you're determined.
I'm so determined to do that,
right?
And I think that's something that happens over time. I used to do it daily, and now it's like once a month. Which I think is it's progress for me, and I'm proud of that. Like,
you should be, right?
You wouldn't think of a guy like me burning themselves, but I'm not the stereotypical self-harmer. And
right.
I don't think, what is a stereotypical self-harmer?
Right.
Do you know
I have no idea.
You don't see, I've never slit my wrists, but like if you were to see my legs, I have scars all over my legs from burning myself, and that's from negative self-thinking or believing that the shit that I put in my head is real, right? Like that I'm worthless, that I'm useless, that I'm never going to be good for anyone, that no one's going to be good for me, that kind of stuff. And I just have to kind of let that stuff go and put a positive thing. The right person's going to find me, right? I'm a good person. I offer a lot of compassion. I'm genuine. I'm authentic, right? And I need to like change those and reframe that thinking into that I'm not a bad person.
You're not a bad person.
That I'm a good person.
You are a good person. You do a lot of good things for the world.
Yeah.
Have you tried the relaxation tape when that stuff's happening?
Not when that stuff's happening. Just like I can tell you that I haven't burnt myself since we started this program.
Awesome, man.
And
that's fucking fantastic.
Thing, right?
Yeah.
And I went through a tough week with losing someone, and I didn't immediately turn to that. So I mean, that's progress, and like
absolutely,
like they say in recovery, it's progress, not perfection.
Good for you, dude. Well, that's good.
Yeah,
it
feels good. Yeah, it certainly does feel good. I'm just keep going with it. It's a one day at a time thing. Self harm is, and any harm that way is a one day at a time thing. And I'm glad I'm in recovery for it, and I'm glad I have support for that.
Good for you.
I'm glad I'm learning about it.
Okay. Yeah, well, you're being very self-aware in this process. So, and we hope that you guys are kind of learning to be self-aware as well. Mm-hmm. This whole thing starts with. A lot of people don't even know what a negative thought is, and we'll get into that in a minute. But what you want to do throughout the day, the way to kind of discover if you're a negative thinker or not, is to put yourself into observation mode. So we'll talk about this in a minute, but you're going to be observing your thoughts. You need to just kind of shine a magnifying glass on the way that you think and really make that a priority for the next little while. So as we said before, we wouldn't have a problem with anxiety or depression if it weren't for our negative thoughts. And this is what scares us. It's what depresses us, and it's what keeps us anxious and depressed, is these negative thoughts. It's our scary, depressing, self-defeating, negative self-talk that makes us anxious and actually creates and keeps us in depression. We overscold ourselves. Paulie just mentioned this story. So when we feel we've done something wrong, we're the first ones to beat ourselves up. No one else needs to do it. We do it all on our own. We're also not good at self-praise when we've done something right. You're getting better at that because you're saying, so you need to praise yourself for every little victory. Yeah. Even if you can catch yourself thinking a negative thought, if you don't know how to catch it at first, that's a victory. It's about these little victories and not giving so much attention to the negativity that you think about and giving more to the positive side. Because whatever you feed your mind, it's going to eat. Absolutely.
It's gonna eat, It's hungry.
Your brain is an organism just like your body.
I think, like, especially when it comes to like early recovery from anything, from drugs or alcohol, from anxiety and depression, is giving yourself that praise. For me, it was I don't know about you, but I was a daily drinker, and for me to stay sober for a day was like a miracle.
Really?
So I would say at the end of my first day, holy shit, like I stayed sober. And then the second day, like, oh my God, I did it 2 days in a row. And I might relapse, but at the end of like those clean days, I would always say, wow, like I really did this.
What was the longest you've stayed up for on like a bender?
Like and not slept? Oh, I could say like probably 5 or 6 days, but I was delusional. Like I was losing my mind. And I was just putting like no food or any energy into my body.
Just booze?
It was just like booze or crystal meth.
Booze or crystal meth.
Or speed, because that keeps you up forever.
Yeah, mine was booze and blow, really. But like, the most I think I ever did was 3 nights maybe, 2 nights, three nights. But mine was never, I was never a daily drinker. My drinking was like, obviously, I know the root of the problem was anxiety. Yeah. But I would go to the bar, and as soon as I got those drinks in, there was no off switch for me.
Right, yeah.
But then I'd spend 5 days, like, it got worse. You know, when you're younger, it's like 1 day, then it's 2 days, then it's 3 days. So then it's 5 days of feeling like shit, and I was lucky if I left the house.
Yeah.
So, the amount of wasted days was not worth and I didn't even remember the fucking night, right? Or the nights.
That's the worst, yeah.
So, yeah, I think you and I are in a much better place. Yeah. But I mean, there's two different kinds. You were a daily drinker and an abuser.
Yeah.
And I was a weekend warrior, I'd like to say, right? So
sometimes those weekends go from like Wednesday to Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's they're long weekends.
Right. Sometimes, you can go on a Wednesday night and then your weekend's already here.
It started.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well, that happened quickly.
Yeah.
So let's get back to the negative thinking, which is where a lot of this stuff obviously began. Yeah. So how do we recognize a negative thought? A lot of negative thinkers actually don't believe they're negative thinkers. Many times they actually describe themselves as positive people. And this is funny to me because I know a lot of people that are still kind of stuck in their negative mindset, and they will tell you that they're positive people. Mm-hmm. So they'll tell me they're a positive person, and then they'll proceed to complain about their employees or how life just isn't fair. And it's like, you just told me 5 minutes ago that you're a fucking positive person. And God bless these people. We're not here to pick on them. It's just, this is something that's common. People think that they're positive thinkers, and really, if you look underneath it all, there's a lot of negative thoughts going on. Any thought, so this is the negative thought. Any thought that makes you feel bad, makes you feel sad, makes you feel ugly, makes you feel weak, makes you feel insecure, makes you fearful, makes you feel incapable, makes you feel alone, makes you feel angry, makes you feel guilty, makes you feel unlovable, makes you feel anxious and depressed, or unworthy or worthless. I mean, the list can go on. And if you don't understand any of the words we're talking about, just Google them. Yeah. And if you have any thinking pattern that makes you feel those things, that's a negative thought. So that's going to trigger an emotion within you as well, an emotion response. So you need to really be able to catch those thoughts. And what cognitive behavioral therapy really is transforming that negative thought into a more empowering thought so that you become just a more positive all-around person.
Like, I don't think we're all going to be positive Paulies.
No.
You know what I mean?
Like you, yeah, I do like that. Positive Paulie.
I always called it positive Patty, but positive Paulie. We're all not going to be positive Paulies every day, right?
No.
And all day long, but I think if we just kind of take a little step forward, if we're negative thinkers, and we take a little step forward every day, those are small victories, and we should praise ourselves for them.
Absolutely. And I think it's all about those little victories. Mm-hmm. You should kind of, and we're going to get into some exercises you can do, but you should kind of, if you really want to break this pattern, if you're looking at yourself right now saying, fuck, I am a negative thinker, what you want to do is you want to carry around one of these guys with you, maybe a smaller one.
Yeah.
But you just carry it around. Go through your day like you normally would, but anytime you recognize a feeling of anxiety, go back and trace the thought and then write that fucker down.
Yeah.
And keep a list. You'll start to see a pattern of sort of why you're feeling the things that you're feeling and the kind of thoughts that are creeping in. What you're going to want to do after that, and we'll explain in a minute, because at the beginning of this, it's really tough to even figure out what a negative thought is. So to catch it is a victory in its own.
Yeah.
To try to transform that into a more empowering thought takes a little more work, because at first, we're extreme people. Usually, you've conditioned yourself over all this time to be thinking things that are so unrealistic, right? For example, we'll go through an anxiety attack in a minute. Let's keep going, but I'll get back to that thought. Okay, so these are all negative thoughts that we spoke about. 300 a day. Every 2.5 minutes, we're thinking a negative thought. So give yourself mini victory. Write down your negative thoughts. Just say mini victory, and praise yourself for that.
Soon enough, you'll have a championship, right?
Absolutely.
That's it.
So how are we supposed to be really good at a relationship or parenting our kids or even a difficult day at work if we're giving ourselves these messages every 2.5 minutes? And for people with anxiety, it's probably more like every minute. Yeah. So if you're giving yourself a negative thought every minute and making yourself feel shitty, how are you really supposed to give yourself to anyone else?
Right.
How can you? You're so self-consumed with these thoughts and feelings that you're going through.
It would create a toxic relationship, right?
Yeah. So how bad we feel, how anxious we feel, how angry we are, how depressed we are, and how incapable and depressed we are. These are all the thoughts that are going to keep you that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter how long we've been a negative thinker. Whatever age we are, we can change the way we think. So that's the good news. No matter what age. I mean, you might be thinking these are a couple younger guys, or not super young, but young enough that they have enough time to kind of change this. If you're 70 years old, 80 years old, I mean, if you can put in 15 weeks to try to reprogram your mind, isn't that worth the rest of your life? I think so.
It would be, yeah. The best thing I saw or heard on here was that it's never too late, right?
Right. Yeah.
You can be a 12-year-old and do this program, right? If you've gone through some stuff, or you can be like a 92-year-old if you have Facebook, or if you're watching, right? Like you can do this.
Yeah.
Like you really can. It's never ever too late. You don't have to have Facebook to do this program. But.
No, not at all. And we'll put the link at the bottom again, as we usually do, if you are interested in taking the full course. Mm-hmm. This is just an outline of things that are possible. So in order to get comfortable with replacing negative, defeating thoughts with empowering, positive thoughts, there are some things we need to learn to do. So first, and most importantly, we need to start today. So what you need to say to yourself is, I'm going to start loving myself unconditionally.
I love that. When I heard that, I thought, that's the answer.
Yeah.
Right there. Like, don't make any conditions. If you feel like you screwed up, don't have that condition. I can't love myself because I screwed up. I've done that 1,000 times.
Sure,
right?
sure.
Like, love yourself unconditionally. Like, it's the same thing. Like, I saw that you liked my picture of my mirror, right?
Yeah.
Be a fucking lion.
Yeah.
And like, those are the things that to me I need to look at to be empowering, so that I can be a fucking lion this day, right? And like, instead of putting you're an idiot on my mirror, I put be a fucking lion, because I want to wake up every day and see that and say, here's my purpose today. And that's to help out as many people as I can in this big jungle of ours, right?
Yeah, sure. No, and that's the best way to operate in the world.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where every day you're not going to be a lion, right?
No,
like,
I'm not.
Yeah, some days are going to be hard, but that's when you use this stuff and just give yourself that self-care and try to get through it.
And just try to love yourself unconditionally, right?
Right.
Like, that was the best thing I heard.
So what did you think? I mean, if that's the best thing you heard, this is what I really like, because sometimes you're thinking, well, how do I do that, right? Well, what you want to do is you want to love yourself the way that you love your children or your sister or a best friend. And I thought that was really cool, because if you were hearing your sister or your kids walking around the house saying, "Oh, I'm not skinny enough," or "I'm too ugly," or whatever, what you'd be like, wait a minute, right? Why are you saying these things? Yet why do we allow ourselves to say them to ourselves every day that we go through life?
I love that analogy. Like,
yeah,
that would you say this to your child, or would you say this to the love of your life?
Right.
Like, would you say this negative thought? Never in a million years. And I think that, well, why do we put them on such a high pedestal?
And then and
then we put ourselves in the ditch, right? And we're all deserving of love, and we're all deserving of compassion, and we're all deserving of that. And why would we put them on a pedestal and say, well, of course I would say positive thoughts to them, but I would never say that to myself. I think we need to say the same stuff to ourselves as we do to other people, and if it doesn't feel right saying it to another person, then don't say it to me, right? Like, I'm not going to say to Shawn, God, I feel like you feel useless, right? Like, I just would never say that.
You're useless.
You're useless. I would never say that, but I say that to myself, right? So I need to reframe that and say, like, you're a good guy. Yeah. And, like, I'm a good guy, right?
Sure.
And, like, that's how I think that those are just small kind of examples, but...
Yeah. Well, that's just it, though. I mean, we oftentimes, the thing is, too, is if we start telling ourselves these things that we're good, and we start giving ourselves positive reinforcement, we're only going to give that much more back to the world. Right. Because as soon as you love yourself, you can't help but give it here, give it there, give it there.
Betcha.
So if you're going to be nice and stop your, and say, like, to your sister who's beating herself up, if you're going to stop and say, hey, don't beat yourself up, you're very lovable and this and that. As soon as you start saying all that stuff to yourself, you're just going to spit that out, even if you don't hear her say those negative things. You're just going to tell people because you feel it.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. So you need to start loving yourself in a spiritual way, so that no matter how you find yourself on a daily basis, whether you're negative or tired or angry or weak, you're still okay. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's cool. Like, that gives me you put a smile on your face right there.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Hope.
So
right there,
we have to learn, and this is what you're getting at, we have to learn to have compassion for ourselves and we have to learn to say things that are soothing and calm us rather than work us up.
Yeah.
Which is what we do now to cause anxiety. One little thing will go to the next, to the next, to the next. Before you know it, you're having a panic attack.
Yeah. Which
we went over last week, by the way. So if you need any help with panic attacks still, go and watch last week's video. There's a 6-step version of how to stop panic attacks. So most people don't even know how to recognize a negative statement in the first place, but we need to recognize the negative thought first before we can replace it with a positive, empowering thought. So this is where the importance goes on catching those thoughts and just taking a little victory in catching it, because now you have something to work with.
Right. Well, you can identify it, right? It's like people, like for me, when I was struggling with depression, didn't know what depression was.
Yeah.
I thought I was broken.
Yeah.
But really, I just had depression.
Yeah.
And some people put this big negative kind of...
A lot of people did for the longest time, right?
On depression. And
yeah.
I don't think having depression's that bad.
No.
Like, I really think it's just... It's like having diabetes, right?
Right.
Like, I think it's just like some people have it and some people don't. And if you want to look at it in a negative way, you're probably going to stay pretty negative. If you look at it as, like, I live with depression, how cool is that?
Right.
I think, you know what I mean? I live with post-traumatic stress. It's not great every day.
Right. Well,
it makes me me.
Yeah. A lot of people, too, live with, just like you said, they don't know what it is. Yeah. So they live with it by self-medicating.
Yeah.
Becoming weekend warriors, right?
Yeah.
And trying to self-medicate using the wrong kind of things to make themselves feel good.
Yeah.
And that's what I used to do too, because I didn't know why I felt like shit.
Yeah.
Right? So it was better for me to be hungover and at least know the answer than to just be not normal and not knowing what it was. That's scary, right?
Yeah.
So doing this is going to be a bit tricky at first. We have to know what a positive, empowering thought is. So let's talk about what a positive, empowering thought is. Well, that's going to be any thought that makes you feel comforted, soothed, safe, relaxed, energized, special, loving, capable, talented, attractive, loved, accepted, smart, in control, etc. So there are a few. So that's what you're going for. So if you are saying this negative thought, you caught it, now you want to replace it, just kind of think about, you don't want to go, for example, we'll get to this too, I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but when you think about a negative thought like, I'm tired, I feel like shit, I don't want to go to work, you're not going to replace that with, I feel great today, I feel like $1 million, I'm going to fucking kill it today.
Right.
You're not going to replace it with those kind of thoughts. What you're going to do is be more realistic and say, okay, well, I don't feel great this morning, but that doesn't mean it's going to be a bad afternoon.
Right.
I don't know what's going to happen. Something great could happen this morning. As long as I get up and try and keep going, it will be okay. That's an example of something that you can believe, and you can it kind of gives you a little motivation to just push through that shit and move on, right?
Yeah.
So it needs to be realistic and not from extreme to extreme, because people with anxiety and depression tend to go from one extreme to the other. It's very black and white.
Right.
And there's no gray area, no in between. It's like, I know for me, I was always like, when I felt good, I was go, because I didn't know when I was going to feel like shit again, and I was going to be down and eat. So you try to accomplish 1 million things in a day, and then you get anxiety because you don't accomplish enough. So you just have to really train your way of thinking. But it's really funny how it all ties in.
Easy on ourselves, right?
Easy on yourself. Catch the thoughts and just be compassionate. We're all people.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. Everybody grows at different speeds.
We put so much pressure on ourselves, Like, we put so much pressure on ourselves to be a perfect person or to always be happy or to always... And, like, that's just not realistic. We're human beings, right? That have tough life experiences. And, like, that's... I think... For me, at least, that's what I say about the traumas that I've been through. They're tough life experiences that I've learned.
Yeah.
And as much as I hated that they've happened in my life, man, they've built an unbelievable guy that has crazy resilience.
Yeah.
And I like having resilience. They've built someone that has a wild array of life experiences. For 32, I've lived 5 people's lives already, right? And
no, I know.
I used to think that in a negative way, and then I think I switched when someone said, people would love to have your problems.
Yeah.
And I thought, they're not problems then.
Yeah,
they're
absolutely.
Experiences, they're lessons, they're, it's especially when it comes to relationships, they're lessons. They're total lessons for me.
You're on a relationship kick tonight. Is something going on?
I don't know. I don't know.
We can talk about that after.
We will. Yeah,
right.
We will. Yeah.
No, I totally agree with you, and I think that I thought about it the longest time too, and like I kept fucking up, and but I'm I'm in my 30s, but early 30s.
Yeah.
If I've got all this negativity and all that shit behind me, I got it out of the way at a pretty young age, where I can build something with a lot of momentum moving forward. That I think is going to be great. I don't know what it is yet, but we'll see.
It will be, I believe.
Thanks, pal. Thank you. So we don't want to just do this for ourselves. The compassionate thinking, we want to do it for others as well. So we want to develop a good new habit. This is when we say, as soon as you start to become an empowerment thinker, it will rub off on other people, and the world will be a better place, right? Yeah. And this is tough to do because the outside world will beat the shit out of you sometimes.
Every day.
Yeah, there's a lot of negative shit that goes on in the world, and you just can't feed that into yourself.
Just watch Fox News.
yeah, for sure.
Hopefully no one from Fox News is watching tonight. Maybe they are.
Oh, well, they can send us a complaint.
Yeah.
Go nuts.
We'll put a positive spin on it.
That's exactly it, right? We'll figure out the negative and find a positive.
Flip it, yeah.
The nice thing about giving other people compliments and empowering yourself, and I thought this was really cool, it's totally free. It doesn't cost a thing.
No.
Anyone can do this. This isn't a payment plan. You can you can take your negative thinking, work on it, and just become a happier person. Who doesn't want to do that?
I like that, like, it's free, but it's a total investment.
It is. Fuck yeah, it is.
It's a total investment.
It's a huge investment with a huge payoff.
With a huge payoff,
For a little bit of, a little bit of patience, a little bit of work.
Yeah.
To change your whole life, I think that's,
You just have some faith in yourselves, right? Like, I think that's where I've come is because I've gone through a little bit in the last 2 weeks, just with losing a buddy, that I've had to have a lot of faith in myself that I can get through this, and I can use these tools to get through this, because death is tough for anyone, right? And
and it's a thing that we have to live with.
We have to deal with. Everyone's going to die.
Yeah, that's where I think I read somewhere that we're the only species that actually knows that one day we're gonna bite the bullet, right? And we still go on regardless. We still keep moving. So we're a pretty damn tough race, right?
Yeah, we are.
So why not just enjoy that? The nice thing is that you're only going to die on one day.
Right.
The rest of the days you're going to live. So why not be fucking happy and excited? So people with anxiety tend to look everywhere outside of themselves for reinforcement. This sounds like a young version of myself, right?
Yeah.
Or a lot of people that are using it. I mean, you see it on Instagram every day. We want other people to tell us that we're okay. We want other people to tell us that we're special and smart and talented and look good. It's time that we are the ones we run to.
Yeah.
It's time that you learn to give yourself that reinforcement, that positive energy that you need. So it's time to stop looking elsewhere and comparing ourselves to other and trying to be liked by everyone. There's lots of people that are probably watching this that say this is fucking stupid, and that's fine. You're probably dealing with anxiety and can't face it right yet, So we don't hold that against you at all. But just remember that this is where you look to find the empowerment right here.
It's like that thing that Jim Carrey says. Like he says, "I wish everyone could be rich and famous to realize that this isn't what it's all about." Not the answer, right?
Yeah, sure.
Like, and I think that we're all, when it comes to that stuff, like, it isn't the answer. The answer is like not outside validation.
Right.
I think the answer is inside validation.
It's inner work.
The inside compassion, right?
100%, man.
We can get 1,000 likes on Instagram on a picture and still be miserable.
Oh yeah, most I
didn't get 1,001.
Yeah,
right.
Or you always want more, right?
Yeah.
You always crave more and more and more, and then what is more? Like, by the time that you're at the end of your life,
more is like a substance, right?
Yeah. It's true.
When someone says, what was your drug of choice? It was like more.
Yeah.
I just couldn't say no. If someone said, here's another one, I'd say, okay.
It's like those billionaires that say like, so what else do you want? And they're like, just one more billion, right? Yeah. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah. Hand some over this.
Yeah, sure. So, so it all begins, this whole thing begins by learning how to talk to ourselves more positively and how to think more positively. Once we do that, it'll start to rub off on everyone around us, children, spouses, coworkers, family members. The most effective way to be more compassionate to yourself is to picture yourself talking to someone you love and care about, like your children, putting your arm around them after they've been beating themselves up and putting themselves down. How would we respond?
Yeah.
That's how you respond to yourself. So, for an example, let's talk about you because you do your presentations. Yeah. I put you in here. I said I want to talk about Paulie's presentation.
Oh, cool.
So Paulie's beating himself up after he's talked to couple hundred people about mental health and about his story.
Yeah.
He didn't think, you thought maybe you stuttered a few times, you didn't think you did a great job. You're beating yourself up. So I come to you and I say, hey, you did a great job. I'm so proud of you. You're wonderful. You were funny. You were interesting. You really made an impact today.
Would you say that to me afterwards?
I would. I totally would. I mean, I wrote it down.
Would you say it like that?
I'd say it in that exact tone, all enthusiastic. Yeah. I'd probably say it with a more like, you did great, bud.
Right.
But yeah. So we compliment them. I'd compliment you and fill you with good feelings. We'd say genuine things to you that would want them or want you to feel soothed, comforted, and loved.
Yeah.
So we have to learn how to do the same for ourselves.
And that's true. That happens every time I speak. I feel a little bit vulnerable afterwards, and maybe I missed something, or maybe I didn't get the message out to anyone. Like those thoughts always go through my head after I speak.
Yeah.
And I just have to take like 10 minutes and say, hey, I have social anxiety and I spoke for 1,000 people.
Yeah,
like, go easy, Paulie.
Again, those small victories, right? And the thing is that a lot of the time we're our own worst critic. So everybody out in that audience, no one knew what you were going to say, right? You might have been like, fuck, I forgot to say that. No one knows that. Yeah, to them it's fresh.
Yeah, and like, I don't ever think that I'm like a professional speaker. I very rarely wear a suit when I speak.
Right.
I wear a t-shirt, my hat, I'm just me, and I think that's what's made me successful as a speaker is I'm authentic.
Yeah.
I'm just me. I'll show up with my Chuck Taylor shoes on for like a big fancy gala event because I want people to see, hey, this is this guy, he's this way all the time.
Right, sure. Right?
I think I'm not going to be fake
just because it's
like a big fancy deal. I'm going to be who I am, and that's the way that goes. And I think, especially image-wise, I don't care what people think of how I look. I think of what people think of what I say, right?
Or even if you say the wrong thing at the wrong time, we're all people, that happens, right? So your intention could be great. I think as long as people pick up on your intentions being positive, it's fine.
Yeah, and I just I talk like this when I speak in front of a crowd. Like I don't try not to use any fancy dancy words. I just kind of try to have a conversation with people because I think that's more relatable when it comes to this stuff. But like, sure, I've ever, like I said before, I have every reason in the world to be pissed off at the world, and I've like got to a point where I'm just choosing not to do that anymore. Right. And that's a slow process. That's still a work in progress, and I'm grateful that I'm in the process. And it's certainly not a destination I'm after. I'm just trying to find some beauty in the journey of this. Of getting through, right?
Sure.
I'm not looking for a burning bush or...
This is where you talk about life happening for you rather than to you, right?
Yeah,
that's a cool... I like that. I think I put that in here too. All we've got to do is turn the negative talk around. So when you're thinking that you did a shitty talk, all you have to do is start implementing some of this and you'll feel better right away.
And
you probably do, right?
Me is... what always turns the corner for me, and I know that this turns the corner for me, and I still go into this kind of stuff for like 10 minutes after I speak. I say like, Paulie, you just got up and like shared your story in front of thousands of people. Yeah. Like not many people could do that.
No. Well, one of the biggest fears, actually, the second biggest fear I think for most people is death. The first is public speaking.
Public speaking, yeah.
So, dude, you're already beating death.
I like... I've beat it a few times. I've beat it a few times.
You really have.
I didn't think that like in school... Like public school, you know, when you read the speeches, I never made it to the gym. I never like made it past the classroom. Like
no, I didn't
just
either.
Stuttering and I'd read I never thought that I'd ever be a public speaker.
No, I hated speeches.
And I found a message that I am passionate about, and now I'm a pretty sought after public speaker.
Well, that's just it. You just have to find that passion. I think.
Yeah.
Once you find that passion, and it's not about. It's almost like a bigger calling, right? Like it doesn't become about something that you want. It becomes something you feel you have to do.
It's almost a responsibility. And that's what I say all the time.
That's kind of what this is, man.
Yeah.
Like we're doing this out of the same thing. We're not getting paid to do this. No. We're just trying to reach as nice as it is to be able to get thousands of views and whatnot. It's not about... That's great to be able to reach that mass, but really we're just trying to find the people that are too afraid right now to even... talk to us or reach out to us, the people that are in these states where they're maybe so anxious that they're almost agoraphobic in a sense and don't leave the house, where they have the blinds drawn and they're just laying in bed and it's tough to even get up to go to the washroom. Those are the kind of people that we're hoping this gets to. So the reach is fantastic because it might hit some of those people that we've never met before. And it gives us a reason to keep going.
And I think with that, it's not about comparing, it's not about comparing your story to our story.
Right.
It's about identifying those little things because, like, we have different stories, but we have similar stories as well, right? And so that's the same with the people that we're reaching out to is...
The coping tools are all the same.
They're all the same, right?
So the tools are the same.
Yeah.
So whatever your story is, everything that we're sharing that's helped us can help you.
It can, yeah. It's about identification, not comparison, right?
Right.
I think I learned that in recovery. I can compare myself right out of a room of recovery because I'm not that bad.
I know. Yeah. Last week I had a dear friend of mine reach out that's been going through some issues with alcohol. So we went to an AA meeting, and I looked at his face, and he kind of said, I don't think I'm this bad. I'm like, I feel the same way, but it's nice to be in this room where people are being real, they're being raw.
Yep.
And they're just being completely open and honest. Yeah. And that's refreshing.
Yeah.
In a world filled with lies, especially online, it's nice to be around honest people. Yeah. I was refreshed being around a bunch of alcoholics.
Yeah. How cool is that? Would you ever think you'd like...
Never. I mean, you never think that you're going to end up in one of these places.
Never. But it's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool. It's refreshing. I'd rather listen to someone telling their story about how they've overcome the shitty times they've gone through. Than listen to some fucking guy telling me about all the material things he has, and how fucking much money he's making, and how he's gonna do this tomorrow and buy this and buy this. Like, what are you doing for the world that's any good?
Right.
Besides taking from it.
Right. Exactly.
So anyway, and I used to be one of those people too. So like, I was a hotshot realtor, thought money was everything. Yeah. Hot women, it's just bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, not that last part. That's nice. I mean, still have an appreciation for all women, but it's more
today,
about what's in here.
All mums.
All mums, especially today. Our appreciation is with the moms today. Yeah. Good job. So all we got to do is turn around. When you start looking for positive reinforcement from outside, which is what we've talked about quite a bit, we don't live up to our own expectations or the expectations of others. It's hard to do anything in your life. So if someone says something bad about you, you take it personally.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of this whole inner strength thing, is as soon as you stop caring about what others think and worry about feeding yourself the love, that's a freedom that you can't get anywhere else.
It really is. It really is like a sense of freedom that, where are you going to get that? You can't pay for it.
No.
Right?
Yeah, so...
You can't buy it.
Yeah, well, you can't buy it. Not at all. You could be, like, look at Donald Trump, right? I mean,
oh, man.
We can get into those mental health issues.
It's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Once you learn to change the way you think and not be affected by opinions of others, doors will start to open. Yeah. You'll start to see that life is happening for you, not to you. That's where I put it.
Robbins.
Yeah. Anything is possible. There is no such thing as failure. You can do anything. You can go anywhere. You can conquer anything because you don't need approval from others. You get it from yourself. Which is awesome.
Couldn't have said it any better myself.
No, you can't. It's perfect.
It's perfect, yeah.
That's one thing. See, I mean, I know nothing's perfect. That's fucking perfect.
That's fucking perfect, yeah.
If you change the way that you take or talk to yourself, you can have a totally different experience. Change your perspective. Learn to look at the positive things you do and learn to blow them up. This is a cool point. And out of proportion, instead of looking at the negative things you do and blowing them out of proportion. Because if you have anxiety, a lot of the time, it's those negative thoughts. You're creating this fear, these feelings that scare you by the thoughts that you're thinking and that you're grasping onto. If you can just blow the positive things that you do. Yeah. So, for example, you've gone a month without self-harming. Or almost, right? A couple of weeks at least. We've been on this for like a month.
Yeah.
So that's huge. So instead of thinking about yourself in the negative, be like, blow that fucking out of proportion, right? And blow the speaking engagements out of proportion, all the speaking engagements you booked.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Oh, yeah. And that's the stuff I'm proud of, right? Like, I really am proud of that stuff.
Sure.
Because I've worked along and I've worked in, like, especially when it comes to self-harm stuff, like, guys, it's hard to admit for guys, especially, that we self-harm.
Yeah.
To be open with that and to share that with someone was really tough, and I self-harmed because I told someone, right?
Really?
Like, because I felt so ashamed and guilty and, like, disgusting that I weak, you know what I mean?
Did you care about what they thought about it?
Oh, yeah.
So you were still validating through opinions of others at that point?
Yeah. And now I think I've just switched that thinking, and it's a process for sure, right? Like, I don't think tonight I'm going to go, because I've told the world that I still struggle with that. I don't think I'm going to go home and self-harm, right?
No.
I think that I've gotten these tools that I could say, you've done a whole month without it.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got a busy 2 weeks coming up with all these speaking events, right? Like
positive things are happening.
Positive things are happening. I just put that out to the universe, and it's going to come back for sure.
Right.
I believe at least. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like you're on the right path to really change. Like, it doesn't sound like you care about what others think because you're sharing your story here.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're really starting to work on these negative thoughts and not giving the validation. Yeah. Don't give them any meaning. Like, just think of them like, it's a negative thought. Yeah. And then be like, whoa, but this positive one's pretty cool. I like that. Let's focus on that one.
Yeah. And that's just a transition, right? Like, that's all that is.
Right, man. For sure. If you're going to play something up and make a big deal of it, play up the little positive stuff. That's going to make you feel more empowered. Sometimes when people try this new way of thinking, they go from one extreme to another, and we talked on that. So that isn't realistic, and you won't believe it. You have to keep your goals, keep your positivity realistic. So sometimes even when we're talking, like, oh, you're doing great, you're doing fantastic, maybe slow it down and just be like, I'm doing some speaking engagements, and be honest with yourself, right? Because the lies are the negative thoughts. Right. You don't want to lie to yourself in the positive thoughts. You want to be able to believe those.
Yeah.
And then you realize that these negative thoughts are all little lies just floating around.
Yeah.
Right? So a good exercise to try is carry around a notebook. We talked about this for a week. Every time you have a negative thought, write it down immediately. You'll be blown away by the number of negative thoughts you have. Yeah. It's extremely important to track your negative thoughts daily, hourly, and weekly. So if you want to make some changes, I know right now your anxiety is probably telling you, I don't want to do that, I can't do that. Yeah. That's your anxiety talking. Just grab a notebook, listen to that voice that you just heard, and write down your first thought right there. I didn't feel like writing down my negative thought.
Right.
There's a negative thought right there. Mm-hmm. So, and if you want to, it's extremely important. If you want to have some fun and you're keeping track of your own thoughts, you can keep track of everyone in your life as well, and say, that'll give you practice catching negative thinking. So if you can hear someone else's negative thought, you can write that down too, and you can see how negative everyone is.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing. I mean, the world's not going to change. You have to change, and you have to change the way that you respond to it, really.
I agree.
Yeah. So if you want to have some fun, keep track of everyone else's too. We're surrounded by negative thoughts, negative news, negative radio, negative people. And it's enough already. Why? There's no need for it.
There isn't.
There really isn't. Once you take control of the way that you think, when you put this energy, it's all positive.
Right.
Yeah. So as soon as you catch yourself in a negative thought, this is a good one. This is how you can catch yourself. We kind of talked about catching negative thinking. Well, this is a visual way to do it. So if you're a visual learner, as soon as you catch a negative thought, put up a stop sign. Then ask yourself, what would I say to a close friend or someone I love to make them feel soothed and comforted? And then replace that thought, and there you go. The more frequently you do this, you're automatically going to replace those thoughts, right?
Yeah. It'll just happen naturally.
Right? So to replace a negative thought with something more positive and empowering might feel a little funny at first, and that's okay. It takes a while to break a bad habit. So be sure it's something you believe. We've gone over that as well.
Yeah.
And we've also said our body doesn't know the difference between being addicted to the good stuff or being addicted to the bad stuff, so why not get addicted to the good stuff? More often than not, as we've said before, the positive statement is also much more true than the negative one. So let's do an example here of a negative thought, and we'll talk about anxiety and we'll replace it. So here's a negative thought that's realistic, especially with someone with anxiety. Mm-hmm. Oh no, here it comes again. I'm having some of those anxious feelings. I'm having a heart attack. I'm going to lose my mind in front of everyone here. I'm going crazy. I'm losing control. I'm going to run out screaming. I'm going to make a fool of myself. Fuck. That's how it's
negative.
Fairly negative. And that's just these little voices kind of competing with each other to see who's getting, the scariest.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you replace that with something that's a little more realistic? Okay, I'm at the mall. It's crowded. I'm in a crowded space. I haven't been here in a while. It's fine. I'm a little anxious. And that's okay. It's no big deal. It's going to pass. It's just anxiety. It's not going to hurt me. No one's ever died from a panic attack. I'm not going to pass out. I'm not going to lose control. It's not going to kill me. I'm okay. I've lived through these feelings before. I can do it again.
Right.
So that was a little long. We just wanted to kind of put you into an anxious state for a minute and show you how easy it is after practice and after patience to kind of calm those feelings down and look at them and laugh, because they aren't true. They're shit. They're full of shit. They're bullshit.
Yeah.
They're shit. Really they're bullshit.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. Just because you have an anxious morning doesn't mean that it's going to happen for the rest of the day. You're not going to have an anxious afternoon or an anxious evening unless you put yourself in that state.
If you feed those negative thoughts, you could stay in a negative for weeks, right?
Dude,
it's feeding the wolves, right?
Years. You could stay that way for years, going on and off medication and not knowing what it is and not knowing how to cope.
Right.
But as soon as you start developing that relaxation response, so for those of you that are watching that are new, go to YouTube and type in relaxation tape. You'll find some guided meditation. If you can find Lucinda Bassett's, that's the one we use. If not, try to use something that has some visualization, has some breathing techniques, and potentially some muscle tension and techniques as well. Mm-hmm. But if not, then just go for the breathing. The breathing's the most important.
I think that's like the relaxation breathing. That's the stuff that's really helped me out and like got me centered, and I think that's the stuff that's helped me out the most.
Good.
With this whole program.
Well, when you start to condition yourself with the breathing, and start focusing just on your breath, like that can take away really anything and bring you back into reality. Yeah. And calm your heart rate down. It can calm down, like, just by breathing and focusing on your breath, you can literally calm your body.
Right.
And those feelings are all sort of physical.
Oh, yeah.
They start up here, but they become physical.
Yeah, for sure. I think, I think I said this the first week, that, like, depression's a physical disease.
Yeah.
It's a, like, dopamine deficiency, and that's physical, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, if we can figure out a way
your muscles get sore quicker.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, like, you get aches and pains, especially where you carry the tension in your neck and your shoulders.
Neck, yeah. And that can all change by daily positive affirmations, right? Like, be a fucking lion. Yeah. Like, don't quit. You can do this, right?
Yeah. Well, like you say, when you talk about feeding your brain, it's just the same as feeding your body.
Right.
You talk about the body, the mind, and the spirit. They all need to be fed, right? So when you say you are what you eat, if you're eating potato chips, it's like, okay, well, you're a couch potato, right? So if you eat healthy, your body's going to respond in a better way. Mm-hmm. If you give yourself healthy thoughts, your mind's going to respond in a healthier way. If you are healthy spiritually, if you meditate, if you do breathing exercises, that's spiritual as well.
Yeah.
If you do all of these things, you're feeding everything with positivity, and you're going to respond in a much healthier way.
Oh yeah.
And live a much healthier life. So that's what this is for. It's not rocket science. It's just we never learned these tools. Yeah. No one ever taught us this shit.
Can you imagine how different life would be if we did get taught these tools, say, 15 years ago?
Yeah, 15 weeks, dude. You can do this in three months. A lot of it's going to be repetitive, too, just because it's building the reinforcement. Yeah. So anyway, if you guys are... we just need to be comfortable talking to ourselves and talking to ourselves to make ourselves feel comfortable.
Right.
So if you guys are looking for thoughts to replace the negative thoughts, one of the recommendations in the program that we do is Lucinda Bassett, who runs the program, says, well, what would Lucinda say? So think to yourself, what would Paulie say? What would Shawn say? What would Scott say if you were beating yourself up? And try to picture our voice and what we would say to you to kind of make you feel better. Mm-hmm. And then write that down and start saying it to yourself.
Yeah.
So... anyways, I'm out of notes.
I'm out of notes too.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to add for tonight?
I think just we have to take it easy on ourselves when it comes to this stuff. Like we've obviously worked through a lot of things in our lives to get to a point. It's not that we started today and said, "Oh, I'm not going to be a negative thinker."
No,
we've worked on
years and years, right?
I think the thing that I would love to get, and always, like I think I've said this every single time, every week. You gotta have some faith and you gotta have some patience, and like I understand that those are tough tools to acquire.
Yeah.
But I think that they're very, very important in the success of changing from a negative to a positive thought. Is to have a little bit of faith in yourself and to just go easy with yourself and have some patience with yourself. And
it's hard at first.
It is. I'm not gonna lie.
When you're not used to giving yourself positive affirmations and compliments and empowering thoughts, it's going to take some time. Those neural pathways run deep.
Oh yeah, they do.
So, but the thing is that it becomes, again, you're breaking a bad habit, get attached to the addictive behavior of giving yourself good things and treating yourself well and giving yourself positive thoughts to latch onto.
It's like that Justin Bieber song. You gotta just love yourself, right? Last week was Beyonce.
Yeah, you should go and love.
Bieber.
You should go and love yourself, right?
What's wrong with my music taste?
It's just like the rest of the world. It's nothing.
It's
right?
nothing. I don't listen to Justin Bieber, but that's a great song.
Yeah.
You gotta love yourself, right? And that's what it really comes down to. I feel like when it comes to the self-harm stuff, that like I've learned to love myself more than I hate myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes me not go and self-harm automatically, right? And so that's a little victory for me, that I love myself more than I hate myself, and that balance has always been the other way. And that's something that just talking in right now, that's something cool that I'm going to take with me. I've like just started this thing just this week about writing 3, like not a gratitude list, just 3 things that made me really happy today.
Yeah,
and
good.
Like, I look at those at the end of the day, and I think like, even if I've had a terrible day, I got out of bed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like my thing. When I'm depressed, I don't get out of bed.
I don't either. Right? Yeah.
So if I can get out of bed, I'm writing that shit down. That is something that I'm proud of today. Or if I brushed my teeth.
Yep.
Or if I looked in the mirror, I have a really tough time looking at myself in the mirror when I'm depressed, which I just don't like who I am, right? And that's all that is. And I've broken so many mirrors, punching them, just snapping them because I don't like who I am. And I haven't broken a mirror in like so long, because I'm starting to love myself, and this is years, right? And I think I'm 30. I still got like 60 years left, right? So I got a long process, and like I'm willing to work on it, and that's where it came to an agreement with myself that I'm willing to work on this. I'm willing to love myself, or try to love myself, and I mean, so far it's working out.
Awesome.
So
on that note, everybody out there should love themselves, or at least try to start getting into the habit. And if you don't know what to say from just to replace the thought with something more empowering, I guess reach out to Paulie or reach out to me. We can try to help you with this if it's something that you really want to do.
For Scotty,
or Scotty, absolutely. Anyway, we'll end it there for this evening. And
that was a good one tonight. I like that.
Yeah, it was.
It's a good one.
You start to feel good when you start talking about these things and really focusing on the positive. It's a little nerve-wracking the first couple of weeks, because you're talking about what anxiety is, what depression is, what stress is, and you have to start to focus on those gross feelings. But then as soon as you start to focus on how to change them, it becomes a whole new exciting ballgame.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So again, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
Thank you.
And I'm going to give you the Facebook iPad. So if anybody wants to talk to Paulie, I'll be there in a minute. I'm just going to turn off the other recording devices, and we'll turn around to Facebook with Paulie.